So
For the listening audience, when Jamie was little, he asked Dad, "Why did all your hair fall off your head and get stuck to your back?"
Hey there, everyone. Jamie with Sell for 1% Realtors, joined as usual by the gang,
hello,
Da-
Jamie.
head broker Dave Barlow and Jason Barlow. And we have Rich Sircone
Do
with
you have
Highlands Mortgage.
do you have that oh boy, now I lost the name. The late night TV host with the big red hair. What was his name, Rich?
Conan
Dave,
O'Brien.
Conan O'Brien. You got Conan O'Brien hair going. The big pompadour.
You tell Dad, good one. So
Very
funny, I
good.
forgot to laugh.
Oh boy.
I know you're not talking about me. I don't
No,
know.
not myself. You know, they say that the kid's hair comes from the mother's father. So their mother's father still has a full head of hair. My
How do you know
mother's
that?
my mother's father is bald, as am I and all my cousins. So nothing quite
Well,
like
We
top
didn't,
tier
Dave.
gas.
We didn't notice that you were bald until you just mentioned it. We had never really
So
noticed that.
was your grandpa on your mom's side, was he bald?
Actually, I break the mold. I've heard what you've said before, but in reality, my grandfather on my mother's side had a full head of hair, and my father's family is the one
Yes,
with no
Okay.
hair.
because
So
Dad thinks
I
it's the truth, but
All
it's not
right.
all the
Well,
time.
I've heard what Dave is saying,
Right.
and I was very optimistic when I was younger because my grandpa on my mom's side had hair. I thought, well, I'm covered, I'm good, and oops. Every time I looked in the mirror,
Little
I
thinner,
think you
little
guys
thinner.
have fallen for what we would like to call a wives' tale.
I don't know. I
It's a
think the odds
psyop.
are pretty
It's
high.
a
Odds
psyop
are
from the
pretty
federal
high.
government.
yeah.
Speaking of psyops, let's talk about interest rates.
There you go.
It is May 28th, 2026. And Rich, yes, sir. What do you got for us in the way of interest rates?
Well, the 30 or the 10-year treasury bills have modulated quite a bit. We were pushing 470, I think the last time we talked, high 460s, and we're down to 445 just a few minutes ago on the
Well,
10-year treasury. So we're seeing a little bit of relief. I don't really know why. We're still seeing inflation numbers. We've still got bombs flying over there in the Middle East. We still have high price gasoline. But the 10-year treasury has come down a little bit. We've seen a little bit of, well, we stopped the bleeding of interest rates. I don't mean that we've come down some major in some major way, but at this point we are at maybe a 6.5 to 6.75 range, where we were more high sixes last time we spoke. So, we're somewhere in that range, depending on where you fall with your credit scores and your loan to value and all of that. So, I mean, we're hanging in there. We're hanging in there in that mid six range, ish. And,
that's cool.
that's not a bad rate historically. That's not a bad rate. I remember when people were found it hard to believe that I could give them a rate under 7%. I remember when I thought a rate under 8% was good. And as Dave and I both remember, we remember double digit interest rates when we were
Yeah.
young. So
My mom and dad would have been very happy with a sub 15 interest rate.
You guys are talking about back when you had hair.
I was pretty thin back then too.
and it was a long time ago, let me tell
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
back
but
at the
you were saying
advent of society.
prior to us getting on air here that you're busy.
I am very busy. Part of it has been the transition to the new company makes things go a little bit more clunky and,
Gotcha.
needing to needing to figure out new processes, new ways of doing things. I'm dealing with two computers, two emails systems, and we haven't integrated yet. And so it's a little bit of that, but I do have a lot of people that are interested in buying right now. I don't know whether that's anecdotal, but I am seeing a lot of interest. Of course, we're at that time of year where we should see things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep,
That's
it
cool.
is not anecdotal. New pendings are up in the Columbus area. We have more pending transactions and sales than we did this time last year. Mortgage applications are up across the country. So what you're seeing that's happening across the board. The one thing here in the Columbus area is that the prices on these charts that I'm tracking, the prices are down lower than where they were the same time last year. Showings are also off pace a little bit. And so it reminds me kind of like what we tell people in the winter, hey, there's not as many buyers looking, but the ones who are looking are very serious. And we're seeing that a little earlier than we normally do. One thing that's interesting last year was uh, June last year. We had was kind of a low for a June. We didn't have as many homes selling in June last year, and then December was a 9 month high for closings. And so a lot of that is economy and interest rate driven. And we'll see the same thing happens this year. We should have a pretty strong end of the year as long as we have peace in the Middle East and you got midterms coming in November. And so you would think that everything will kind of shore up before then. And Rich, I thought that's why the 10 note treasuries were settling back down was kind of the promise of peace and that this is going to come to a head here. And I mean, we don't want that for the summertime. Everybody taking trips and vacations. We don't want $5 gas and all this uncertainty. Job market's doing really well, so things look to be on the mend here. But the buyers that are looking for the sellers that are getting out there, the buyers are very serious. Not as many of them as we typically see this time of year, but they're all pulling the trigger. We got tons of homes going into contract.
Jay Marinsky, what are you seeing?
Yeah, I would dovetail off Jason and say that the buyers that are out there looking right now are very serious. The people very motivated to buy. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't have too much to add to that. I think that was a good synopsis. Thank you, Jay.
You're welcome, Jamie. For
Cowboy.
keeping track of it, we are over 5,000 listings now in the Columbus metro. 5,026 as of this afternoon on Thursday, May the 28th. Good time to be a seller, good time to be a buyer. People are giving up their 3% interest rates. That was one thing that, the golden handcuffs, no one's ever going to sell. And, we're seeing people that make a decent living that they're selling and things are not things are not as doomy and gloomy as you might believe if you watch the news all the time. Things are pretty good out here.
Or if you watch Jason and his podcast, he's pretty doomy gloomy, but he seems to have a little sparkle in his eye today. What's going on over
This
there?
this is the only podcast I do, and I get doomy gloomy listening to you talk about your hair for 10 minutes.
It wasn't 10 minutes, it was about a minute and a half, the perfect short. So,
Very
I don't
good.
I don't know about you, Dave, but my grandkids are fascinated by the fact that I have no hair. We have long discussions about it.
I have a
What
little
happened
bit,
to it?
but
You know.
it's all grown on the sides. So,
For the listening audience, when Jamie was little, he asked Dad, "Why did all your hair fall off your head and get stuck to your back?" That's one of my favorite all-time stories.
there you go. There you go. So, I guess what I'm seeing as far as consumer confidence, gas prices, all that bit, I am seeing gas prices kind of move back down. I don't know if last week was kind of that Memorial Day weekend that the gas companies decided that, hey, Going to be a lot of traveling this weekend, so let's gouge the people and pump gas prices way up. That's kind of the feeling I'm getting. We're seeing oil price come down. I'm seeing gas prices in my area at around 4.65 a gallon. I am hearing that oil drum prices are getting back down to around 90. And as Jay mentioned a little bit earlier, that if there is some path to peace here, that hopefully in the next month or so we'll see gas prices back down into the threes and people starting to walk with a little bit of skip in their pace and get things back to normal. So, but it sounds like I know listings that I'm putting on seem to be getting decent traction. Putting them in the contract within a couple 3 days. Um, the buyers, and I don't have very many of them, but it doesn't seem like interest rate is a concern for them. They're just looking. There seems like buyers, and Jamie, you work more with buyers. It seems like the buyers, to me, are at least my buyers are just super finicky, very picky about what they're going to spend their money on. And I don't know. I'm guessing that has to do with pricing, interest rates, what they're going to pay on a monthly basis. But
Yeah,
it,
monthly payment.
yeah. I mean, like for me, I can pretty much walk in and say,
But
yep, no, let's go.
so
Uh,
definitely interest rate driven because it's about monthly payments. That's
yeah.
what they care about.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's like the old cars, that all changed, about 20 years ago. They weren't giving you the sticker price on the car, they're giving you your monthly payment. And so it could be the same thing going on with mortgage rates. It's doesn't matter if the house is 500 grand. What matters is that the monthly payment is less than 2,000 a month. And if I can
Now
get that, then I'm happy.
your your favorite consumer report, the Michigan Consumer Sentiment, reached all-time lows last week. And I think that's why you're going to see, the White House change their tact here with Iran.
Well,
They
I
do not want to head into the summer with gas prices up and people down. I mean, that's not a recipe for success.
so I heard a very interesting conversation about that report, young Jason, that it's very skewed. Imagine that. But the people that they are polling, it's very heavily skewed to the opposite side of the tracks, so to speak,
I
from
don't know
the
that I
current
believe all that.
administration.
I think that you're getting that opinion from a totally skewed perspective that is for the administration.
No,
Oh,
I tried to say somewhat
oh,
neutral there, but it's just interesting, and I've not dug into it, but that was the conversation was going on that if you ask all the negatives, if they're positive, then you're probably not going to get a positive answer. So, anyways, just kind of interesting.
for 21 years, you have pointed to that consumer index as a place to look to see how the population is feeling. But now that it's reached all-time lows, suddenly it is no good,
Well, let
young
me
Jason.
ask you.
No
I
longer
mean,
good.
we've got four people. We got four people sitting right here. Um, do you think the economy is terrible?
I live in my own little bubble, so
Well, I'm just saying, but it's four
I,
different
I, I
people
think
here.
that people feel $5 gas, and you can go to the grocery store and feel what that bill is. And I do think that probably the average person does not think the economy is that great.
Well, we can, I guess, get into a long discussion about that. That's not what the feeling was, 3 years ago when it was a whole lot worse than it is now.
I'm looking at that chart. I mean, you can. It was pretty good up until COVID, and then 3 years ago It
All I can
was
tell you
its
is that from
second
my
all-time
own
low, Dad.
perspective, that I don't think,
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
time to jump off the cliff.
let me share my
Um,
screen here.
I don't see lots of people committing Harry Carey. I think that
Suicide
most
rates for young
people,
men is the
other
highest
than,
it's been.
gas and things like that, feel like, it's moving along in the right spot.
Can I share my screen?
No.
Or do you want to just wrap this up because you don't like
Please,
facts coming?
Let's wrap this
please
up.
share it. Please share it.
Better wrap it up, Jamie. Better
We
wrap
will
it
be
up.
back next week with more interesting conversations, getting a pulse of where the the market is. It seems there are some disagreements out
I'm gonna be
there,
starting my own weekly show.
and we'll get you guys an update
Yeah.
next week
Let's
with
base it all on.
more information from here at Sell for 1%. Appreciate you joining us, Rich. Thank you, sir. We'll see you
Thank you
guys
for
next
having me.
week.
I'm going to work on my comb over for next week's show.
I'm just going to wear my toboggan.